Two things you need to note about the Namibia's mid-year budget review. Firstly, for the first time, we're starting to see a consistent improvement in terms of the revenue collections. I think this is in part due to efficiencies that have been introduced by the Ministry of Finance. But really, if you consider the pandemic that we went through just over a year ago, and we're still reeling from the effects of that, let's be honest, most of us thought that revenue would actually drop at a much faster rate over the next few years, but it looks like it won't. Now, this is contributed by a few things, but one which I guess is more critical is the fact that we're expected to see SACCO receipts picking up relatively well over the next few years as export earnings from the region come in. And as I mentioned earlier, just tax revenue being recorded across the country is quite significant. Another thing to recall and to consider is that as we enter the next few years, we are working with a slightly bigger economy, which is expected to grow, at least from a nominal point of view, at a much faster rate. Combine those two factors, what that tells us is that fiscal consolidation does seem to be on track. In fact, we see it dropping to less than 4% sort of by your 2023-2024 period. And a lot of that will be contributed by improvements in revenue, like we rightly stated, an economy that to some degree does seem poised for growth, even though at a more tapered rate. And also at the same time, we're expecting expenditure to remain relatively flat. Minister of Finance doesn't have a lot of wiggle room to actually increase expenditure over the next few years. The big reforms in the expenditure outline will still be on wages. Without structurally reforming the wage bill, we will work with an economy where expenditure will pretty much remain flat and grow at about 3 to 4%. And I do think that the efforts that are being made to make changes in this area should start yielding some sort of fruit in the next few years. So overall, we're on the right track. Economy does seem to be bubbling along quite well. Revenue estimates are looking much better than what we initially anticipated. And if expenditure stays at this level, we can expect fiscal consolidation over the next few years. What does this really mean? Well, firstly, at least from a rating agency perspective, we don't see further downgrades. Both Moody's and Fitch have Namibia on a negative outlook, and we don't necessarily see that necessarily getting worse or deteriorating in the short to medium term. But over the next potentially 5 years, there could be considerations for actually ratings improvements, provided that we stick at this current trajectory.